Okay guys, so we are continuing our model, and this is where we should roughly be at. We should start to have more of our walls in according to our plans. The stairs is now in, and we have these two major stairs in. I want to use this opportunity to highlight some pointers as it relates to levels, and we're going to move into creating the terrain for the site. But before we do that, we want to ensure that we have a couple aspects of our model nailed down, right? Now firstly, as you can imagine, now that the model is starting to get a bit more complex, you might find it a little tricky to navigate the building in 3D. Now, we can use our levels to navigate this. So for example, our level 1 and our level 2 to do this. However, as the model starts to get more complex, we might find it more beneficial to use our 3D view to see where our model is at. Now, I want to encourage you to try out using the box section tool, and to do that, while you're in the 3D view, make sure that just select in any blank area, and you're going to see a checkbox here that says box, section box. You're going to enable that, and when you enable the section box, you will see this box appear, and all that will happen now is that when you move this box, it will slice the building, and this can help you to easily identify what is going on in our model. Now, one of the things you might notice is that the box tool is not quite aligned to our building, so we're going to do that really quickly. We're just going to switch to a top view here, and we're going to click the box view, go to modify, and we're going to go to rotate, and we're just going to orbit this to the same direction of our model, which is 40 degrees. There we go. Alright, so now we can go back to 3D view. So now we can actually see what is happening inside our model. You can see that I actually got in one of the stairs, that's to go here. And if you notice this section that is here from the model, you will see that on a section drawing, preferably here, right? So you can kind of make out this section that is here, and we can see that this section is really this section here, right? And what is supposed to happen is basically the stairs should go up, meet a landing, and then continue going up, meet another landing, and continue up to the other level on this side, right? So we need to get that stairs in. Now, we did stairs the last time, so we won't be spending any significant time on stair. However, there are just some tips that I would want to guide you on whenever you're creating, especially a multi-tiered stairs, as you see here, right? Now, you might notice that I have additional levels that is created, right? And if I, while I'm creating this model, I may create section views to help me as I go along. So for example, I have just hatched the walls here so we can see it more clearly for the purpose of the recording. But for example, if I wanted to know what is happening along this stairs here, that's along that stairs there, what I would do is I would quickly just cut a section, maybe like that, so that I can see what is happening with these stairs. Now this section may not be an actual section that I have in the final document for what I'm drawing. It's just mainly to give me a better view on what I'm doing. So for example, so to get these stairs in, I would want to cut a section that way. So what I will do is I will go to view and I will go to section, and I will just draw a section line roughly about that, which should be about 50. Then I'm going to flip this by hitting that button there, and that will get my section turning the other way, and I'm going to set it so it just cuts my stairs about here. Now this stair is fairly simple. If you can see from this view here, I just needed to create one flight of step that will take me from my ground level here. Now this is my ground level here, and what you might notice, so my ground level is here, but then I need another level that is right here, so hence I will end up with this distance. Now what I did is I actually created another level, and we actually did this earlier in the lesson, but I created another level called, this particular level is called level 1 docking level, right? And it's simple. It is helping me to keep track of my levels, but it's also helping me to make reference points so I can better create things like stairs. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so if you take a look on where I cut my section here, and I'm going to just switch to that section, and I will find it under the sections area, which is there. And when I open that up, that is what my section looks like. Now notice that I have two levels here. I'm going to just quickly change my scaling so that I can see all of my labelings real easily. There we go. All right. Now I'm just changing the scale for the purpose of illustrating my point here. Now because I created a level here, right, and this level that I created here corresponds to the bottom of the step, then I created another level here which corresponds to the top of the step. So when I'm creating a stairs, I can say take me from level 1 and take this stairs up to the docking level, and that makes it fairly simpler to create a stair. As you can see here, you can see it's going from level 1, that is here, and it's going to the docking level that is here. So it's very easy to create stairs and ramps whenever you have these levels going. It also assists with creating the terrain, so that's why I want to just touch quickly on this level thing here. It will help us to get our levels organized, especially for this model where we actually have a stairs that's traveling along with the terrain. Okay, so for example, what I've done here is I've created a level here called stair landing. So the idea is that my next stair is going to travel from here to here, and then there will be a landing, and there will be another stairs that travels from this level here actually, no, let's do that again. The level that I actually created is actually this level. So I'll have a flight of stairs that travels from here, then have a landing there, and then another flight of stairs that travels from here to my level 2 there. Now, making the stairs is going to be much easier because I've actually created levels that I can use as reference points. Now, I'll also like to iterate again that notice that these levels are black. These levels are black compared to these levels that are blue. And what is really happening here is these blue levels correspond to an actual drawing sheet. So that is this is actually my level 2, which is here. These black levels that you see here don't actually have a corresponding sheet. They're just here for the purpose of helping me to draw the stairs, right? So, for example, if I knew that I needed a level to be 2,900 above my zero plane, then what I would do is, so let's imagine that this level wasn't here. What I would do is I could just simply copy any level. I go and copy, and once I copy a level and I press escape, notice that that is actually going to be black, and that means that it has no corresponding plans, which is good because all I need this level for is a reference, and then I can just simply set the height of this level now to the whatever I want it to actually be, and I can also name that level as well. So that is how we created this docking landing level. You can call it anything you want to call it, but I know that my stairs will have a landing here, and then my stairs will continue up to my level 2, and that's the main purpose of creating that level. So when I go to a plan view now, and I know that I need to create my stairs in this general area over here, so this is where my stairs would actually be, right? And if I take a look on the drawings, I can actually see the drawing here of my stair, which you can see right here, and this stair should be traveling in this general direction, which is there. Now, the first thing I would want to do is I could just put this landing in to my drawing real quickly by, well, first what I would do is I would just go to architecture, I go to floor, and I would just draw my level in. Actually, I might want to, before I start drawing, remember that it's much harder to draw when your drawing is diagonal. So what I'm going to do is just switch to I will just switch my drawing from true north to now project north, and that will get my drawing aligned nicely so that I can easily draw in my landing. Now, usually my style when I'm drawing in any kind of slab or stair, usually I use the old REVIT revise it method, right? So where you draw it and then you revise it. So I would go to floor, and I would say I want a generic floor for now. I can always change that, and I want that floor to be on my docking level landing, because remember I created a level for this floor, and I'm just going to use a rectangle, and I'm just going to estimate where that landing is. I don't need to get it exact right now, and choose OK. All right, so I've drawn in the level, and you notice I'm not seeing it now because this is actually below my ground plane. So if I actually switch to that section view that I just created, there is my landing right there. So I can always go back to I can try to do it from my level 1 if I can't see it. I can see if I can see it from level 2, and I can actually see it from level 2. Obviously I wouldn't see it from level 1, come to think of it, because I would be below that level. So from my level 2 I can see that landing right here in the background. Now notice that I can't select it, and the reason for that is that your selection locks are usually located down here, right? And they prevent you from selecting various objects. In this case, I have locked the ability to select lines below, which in some cases you might want to do, because sometimes you don't want to be able to accidentally move these. So I can just unlock that by clicking this icon here, and that icon will allow me to now select the levels below. Let's switch it on. There we go. And now I can actually modify this as how I want. So of course I can use my drawings here, and I can actually just search for that landing here, and I can also see that landing from here as well. Now as you can see from this drawing, we can get the distances from the entry level, the second level to the edge of our landing, and from our landing to the ground floor that we have there, also the length of the landing there. So this section will give us that information, and we can actually, in order to have a similar view to what we are looking on in this view, we can actually change our view here by just quickly drawing another section, as we did with this section line here, right? And this is a good habit to develop. You need to see something in section, just quickly draw a section line. It's not written in stone. You can just delete it whenever you don't need it. And then when you're ready to produce your drawings, you can always create specific section lines, right? So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go over to view and create section. This time I'm going to create a section line like that. And then I will see that this section here corresponds to the section there, and I can quickly just click that view, and there we go. Now you might notice that we can clean this up a little. So for example, we can hide this boundary wall by clicking to hide the hide button here. So we're going to hide that. And then we see all of these levels here. Now you are going to see all the levels we created, and you can see that I created some additional levels to help me out. The level that we care about is this docking level landing, and our level that is here should correspond to that level that is there. Now we can also see the thickness of this slab here, so we can also adjust that there. So before we get going, let's put in these distances. So we are doing a distance, that's this here, and I'm just going to drop in a dimension line that will quickly allow me to get the distance in. So here we go, and then we're going to go with a distance of there to there, and from here to actually here to the ground slab. Do we have that in yet? I don't have that in yet, but I have the distance to there. Okay, good. So 3218, so we're going to add that distance here. And in order to draw the distance of this, we're going to need to do this from a plan view. So this is 1741. So let's do that from our ground floor, from our second floor plan. and that is 1741. There we go. And that is pretty much all I believe we would need. So now this is in the right position. Now it needs to be the same slab thickness. So that thickness is actually 300 millimeters. So to do that, we're actually going to go into edit type here, and we're going to create a new slab. So we're just going to duplicate this, and we're going to call this generic 300 millimeter slab. And of course that's just the name, so we do need to edit the structure in order to actually change the thickness. We've just really changed the name. So to change the thickness, we're going to click on structure, and we're going to change the thickness here to 300, and that's pretty much it. We're going to choose OK, and we're going to choose OK again, and that's our slab right there. So now that we have the slab in, we can actually get in our stairs between each slab. Let's also check the slab from the ground floor. So let's go to our level 1, and our level 1 should be coming from this distance. We actually need to have a slab that is here, and this slab here corresponds to this slab right there. Alright, so we're going to use the same method of draw it and then revise it. So we're going to go to floor. We're going to put that floor to level 1. That's level 1. We're going to use the generic floor for now, and we're going to draw in that floor slab. I'm just going to draw it in like that. Choose OK. Alright, and we have our slab in. We can see that the length of our slab is 1958, so we're going to actually put that in. There we go. And we're just going to adjust this side like that. And there we go. So now we have our ground floor slab. So if we look back at our section, we can compare that to our drawing here, and we can see that we have our ground slab here, which is on our ground level. We created an intermediate level to which we align this slab from, and then our upper slab, which would be right here. So all we need to do now is to just create the stairs that goes between these levels. Alright, so let's get that done real quickly. Alright, so to do that, we're going to go to our, let's go to the highest level, so our level 2. And we know we need to start the stairs from here, and it's going to go to there. So we're going to go to the stair tool, and we're just going to use a straight stair. Before we go to that, we need to tell our stairs what level we will be going at. So we want to go from our level, we want the base to be the docking level, and we want the top level to be our level 2. There we go. So we have now set our levels for the stair, and we were able to do that because we had create these levels as reference point from the very beginning. Okay, so we're going to go from here, and we're going to go from base to upper, so we're going to go in that direction. Alright, so my stairs is created. I actually created it from the center line, but that doesn't matter. We can switch it to the right or the left. Let's switch it to the left. There we go. And then we're going to use the move tool to move the stairs over. Let's shift that over there. And then we want to extend the stairs like that. And I believe this should be it for our stairs. Now, okay, so now that this stairs is done, we're going to choose OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change this stair. It is a precast stair. Let's look at the type. Let's look at what we have here. We have a precast stair that is here. All right, that's great. Then what we're going to do is let's look at this in 3D to see how this is working out. All right, now what we're going to do, we're going to use our crop box to just kind of get a better view at what's happening. Let's come out a little more. There we go. So we can see that we got in that first stair, which is great. Notice that our stair has railings by default, so we don't need the railings. So let's go back to our level 1 and let's delete these railings because we really don't need them. Now we can't actually delete them because they're actually pinned. So to do that, we need to unpin by just clicking this little pin here, and then now we can delete these railings. So let's tab into that. Did I get it? Oh, hold on, let me undo. I should be on my level 1 actually. Let's adjust that again. Right, so while on the level 2, which is above, that's when I can select these railings, and we're going to delete those railings. Alright, now to make life easier, what I'm going to actually try to do is to just simply copy the stairs. And to copy that stairs, I'm going to go over to modify and go to copy. And I'm going to paste these stairs down here. There we go. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to say make my base level for these stairs to be level 1. And my top level to be the docking level landing. And it might tell you in this case it says that that it can't reach the top, so we're going to choose OK, and then let's look at that in section to see what's happening, and we can see that that's the issue there. So these stairs actually need to be going a little higher. But my main problem with this is that I actually have the stairs on the wrong level. This level is at level 1, but my docking level is a little higher, because remember how these stairs work. You can see it in this view here, and you can see where this stair is actually, it should start from this level. Remember, this is my level 1. And this is like my docking level here, so it should start from the docking level actually. So that's the problem that I'm having over here. So I need to click on this stair and I say, okay, no, don't start me from level 1, instead start me from the docking level. And there we go. So now we can get to that level. All right, so let's look at our other section. So you can see now we have the stairs that we had before, and then we use the levels to create this new stairs that goes to the upper part. Okay, so that's just a quick kind of tip of how to deal with when you have these more complex stairs and levels. As we're going to realize that levels become very important, especially when we're referencing objects on the outside of our building, and that has to do with the terrain. Now another quick tip before we get into terrains actually, you might also notice that if we look in, let's say, this section here, or we could look in that detail section here. You notice that these walls actually have a little overhang that you can see here, which goes below the ground level, and these are usually for structural purposes. So if we take a look at our model, we can see where we added in these walls, but they are not quite there yet. These walls should actually be lower like that. Now some of you might say, okay, then all I have to do is to select the wall and simply adjust the base offset, and you could actually do that. However, when you adjust the base offset, so like in this case I could say -800, and the wall would go down, but the entire wall would go down, and now I would have to adjust my top. I mean, it could work if you had your top that was linked to a level. So for example, if this was linked to level 2 ceiling, I wouldn't have to worry about the top. Now that is one way that you can do this, but I want to just point out another quick way, right? And we are actually going to need this in order to do other overhangs and things like that. And what you do is you click, notice that when you click on a wall, there is this option that is actually grayed out, which is called base extension. And it would make sense that all we need to do is extend the base of the wall rather than changing the actual base offset, which is here, because the base offset is really supposed to be at the level, and then you would do a base extension to go below the level. However, this is by default grayed out, so a lot of persons normally default to just changing the base offset. Now to enable the base extension, what you need to do is actually to go to click on the wall, go to edit type. So this will edit all walls of that type or that family. And what you're going to do is you need to show the preview actually. So I'm going to need to click on the preview there, and this will show the wall in elevation in section. And then what we need to do is, while you're in the preview view, we're going to switch this to ensure that this is on section, because you need to be seen as section view. You're going to go over to structure, right? And when you go over to structure, you're going to hit edit. And what you need to remember is we just need to hit the modify actually. And actually not modify. Right. You do need to click modify first. Then while it's highlighted, you go over here, and what you're going to do is when you hit modify, you're able to actually change the properties associated with the different edges of the wall. So what you got to do is to click on the bottom and just unlock the bottom, which sometimes is a little tricky. You have to hover until the lock symbol is turned orange, and you want to just unlock that. So again, all you need to do is unlock it, but you need to click the modify tab first, right? Then you're going to hover over that baseline and just uncheck that lock. Now once you do that, you're going to click OK and OK, and now you're able to actually change the base extension distance, which makes extending the wall much more easy. Now, you know, because the first you're doing that, it might look a little complex, but you get used to it after a while. So now I would just say, I would just do the base extension of 800, of -800 actually. And that's it. Now the great thing about doing a base extension is that the wall remains at the correct level, and this is an extension from that level rather than trying to offset the level, right? So this turns out to be kind of a best practice for modeling, right? Just a quick tip there to help you get these walls down, which will basically help you to achieve those details right there. Alright, so by now you're probably also noticing that another detail we need to add to the model will be the foundation footings, and you might notice that a lot of these sections have these footings here. Now, right as we are about to add the site, it's a good idea that we start to add our foundation footings on these walls here. And of course, these footings would need to go on the load-bearing walls. Now, in order to add these, the footing, we want to primarily target the walls that are going to become a part of the section, right? So we can see that here. And Revit actually has a tool for you to put in the foundation footings. However, we do need to be prepared in order to be able to apply footing to our drawing. Now, as you can see here, with this model that we have here, I don't have my foundation footings as yet. All I pretty much have is I am starting to block out what my model will become. So, if you remember, our step-by-step process, we want to try as much as possible to create that outer shell, main walls, and all of that stuff. So this is what we're actually doing, so that we can get to a stage where we have our complete model before we start to add the site, right? So in order to do that, now would be a good time to add our foundation footing. Now, earlier we discussed a way of using base extension to add an extension to walls, as we did earlier with these overhangs that we can see here using the base extension option. Now, ideally, we would also want to have these walls come down like that in order to form our foundation footing that would normally have there. That would be extending towards that region there. However, we are not going to be using the base extension option for this, as we want to be able to control the foundation walls separately from the main wall. So for example, this entire wall is a main wall, but we actually want to add an extension, well, not an extension, an additional wall that will become our foundation wall, and we can control the properties of that wall, and it is separate from our other main walls that we have here. Now, a very key solution or key component that we'll use to apply those are going to be our levels. Now I'm going to switch back to one of my section views that I created. This was just a temporary section view, and you might notice that I created another level that's called foundation footing, and I made that minus 1200, which is going to be the depth of our foundation. Now the reason I created that level is because I wanted to be able to just create a wall that would span from the foundation footing level up to my level 1, and this reference line is going to help me to do that. Now, I don't need to make this foundation footing a blue icon like this, meaning that I don't need a actual plan generated for my for this level foundation footing. I just need it for the purpose of a reference point. All right, now with that said, all we really need to do is to draw in our walls, and we could use our level 1 to do that, and we could try and determine where these walls would be. Now here is a little trick that we can use to get those walls in nicely. Now, as you perhaps would know, that structurally not all walls would necessarily have foundations, but definitely the main structural walls, for example, the main outer walls, all our columns, they all will have structural footing, and we can actually find those options under our structural tab. But before we can add those structural footings, we need those walls to extend beyond the 0 level, right? And to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to choose our wall tool here, right? And when we choose our wall tool, we're going to choose this little down arrow, and we're going to actually choose structural wall, right? And the interesting thing about this is that when we choose these walls, what we want to pay attention to is the levels of this wall. So we want to make sure that our base is on the foundation footing, and our top constraint only go up to level 1, right? And we can see what we mean when we look on our drawings here. If we look at one of our sketches, we can see that this type of wall here needs to only go between the foundation footing level and the 0 level, and then we can add the foundation footing base on that wall. All right, so the interesting thing about this is that once you change these options here, when you draw the wall, you're not going to see it in plan naturally, because it's going to be below the 0 plane. So now that I've chosen this, I'm also choosing the thickness of my walls. I also want to change the wall center line. I mean, you can choose if you want to draw using the center line, but I would rather draw using the finish face exterior, so that when I draw this wall now, remember, I'm not going to be able to see this wall because it's going to be below the ground plane, right? So I'm able to click here, and I can actually draw this wall in like that. Now I'm going to get this message because it's below my ground plane, but if I look on my 3D view, you can see that that foundation wall is actually here, right? And you can see that it's actually below the ground, which is here. So that is great. So really all I need to do is, from my level 1, I just need to select structural walls, and I can just draw those walls in like this. Or I could actually go to pick lines, and I can just pick the lines that I want to draw my these walls in. So there would be one here. So remember that I'm choosing these edges actually, and there would possibly be one here, and one here. All right, we can look on what that looks like in our 3D view. So you can actually see these walls are actually being drawn in, and I can tidy these up by trimming them up like this. There we go. And I think I actually have a double wall here, so let's delete that. All right, and I can attach this wall up here. So now when I go to my section view, for example this view, I can clearly see where I have this foundation wall here. Actually, let's align that wall. So I'm going to just quickly align it there. There we go. And now what I want to do is I want to go to structure, and then I'm going to go to the foundation base right here. And all I need to do now to attach a footing is to just click on a foundation wall, and you will see my footing up here. Now I actually need to extend my cut here so I can see it. There we go. So let me hide it back again. So there is my footing there. Now in actuality, the footing, let me show you in 3D. The footing is only applied here, but in actuality I really do need the footing to be applied to all of these walls here. So I can start to just click the foundation walls, and then all of them would now get the applied footing detail that it needs. However, I would, in some cases, I will always take a look on what it looks like in section, because for the purpose of a section, ideally you would want the footing to be like that. Sometimes you might get these lines in the background and you don't really need them. You can just hide it if you want, or you can selectively choose which walls to put a footing on. Now if I was to generate a foundation plan, I definitely would have to have a footing on every wall that needs footing, but we're not actually doing a foundation plan for this project, so I can be a bit selective with where I place the footing based on the sections that I will cut and show these footings on. So that's just quickly how you get the footing, the foundation footing, to prepare for adding your site.